welcome to DAS webinar of how to unlock the hidden potential of dealership data. We're looking forward to hosting this session today. I'm pleased to introduce today's speakers, Brian Kent, our dealership consultant. Before I hand the mic over to Brian, there are a few items I want to briefly cover. First, today's webinar will be available as a recording after the live session, and we will send you the link via email within 48 hours so you can revisit or share it with others people. We love to hear from you during today's presentation. So if you have any question for us, please send it through the Q&A window at any time during the presentation. Brian will be answering the questions at the very end. If we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterward. And finally, please fill out the survey at the end of the webinar, as your feedback is very valuable to us. So, without further ado, I'd like to kick things off and hand the mic over to Brian to get started.
Hey, everyone. Oh, there we go. Hey, hope you're doing well today. Thanks for joining us as we talk about unlocking the hidden potential of your dealership's data. My name is Brian Kent. I am a dealership consultant here at DIS. I work with a number of accounts and I'm based out of our Bellingham office. Some of you might know me. I might actually get the chance to work with you, but primarily I'm in our Bellingham office, and I've been with DIS for 2 years. So before we jump into unlocking the hidden potential of your data, I'm going to chat a little bit with you about DIS. It's always great to take a chance to just remind you of who we are, what we're about, what we're doing, and how we're hoping to serve you well. So our mission, as you probably know, we work with a number of industries, one of which you're in, whether it's agriculture, Thermo King, lift truck, and construction dealers, as well as some other unique heavy equipment manufacturers. We have been around for 40 plus years, working initially with agriculture, then over time starting to reach within the lift truck, construction, and Thermo King area. And as a DMS provider, we're not only here to support you with just, hey, we want to provide a software for you, but we want to make sure that we're putting you as the customer first. We're hoping to be a tech company that's providing augmentation to the business system and to allow for future growth and stability for our customers, you, as you're looking at what is the new tech, what is the new expertise that we can leverage in order to grow and compete well within our industry and serve your customers. So who is DIS? We've got 150 plus employees. We've got our headquarters in Bellingham, Washington, but we actually have employees throughout the Canada and US. We've got a number of our staff is in Bellingham, but we're stretched all the way from the East Coast to the West. We've got people in every single time zone. We serve over 750 dealers. That's about 2,000 locations across North America. And as you see on the far right, the average tenure at DIS is actually about 10 plus years. So I'm one of the newer, more green people to be here, but it's great to be able to work beside so many people who have worked in this industry and worked with so many of you for, in some cases, decades. We work with a lot of different manufacturers and OEMs. These are some of the significant contracts and endorsements that we work with, but we're just proud to say, hey, here's who we work with. Here's who we're partnering with to serve you guys, make sure that we're helping out those who are providing you with the product that you're getting to your customers. This isn't obviously an exhaustive list, but just to give a shout out to some of those who we work closely with. And an important detail about DIS is that we are part of the Constellation Software Network. We have been since April of 2017. If you don't know much about Constellation, it is a dealership software expertise group that is the largest software dealership group outside of the auto sector. So there's 600 plus software companies that are within Constellation, and they're kind of a buy and hold type ownership group. So opposite of what you would experience with a private equity, where they would come in, make a purchase, make the changes that bring in some profit, and then oftentimes sell. Constellation comes in and says, what is a company that we want to to acquire in order to utilize and support that customer base for the long term. And as someone who's worked for software companies for years and has been in some that are owned by private equity, working for Constellation for me personally is a breath of fresh air to know that, hey, this company is here in the long haul to develop a great product and to continue to maintain that for you as the customer. So with all that being said, why do all dealers need analytics? So the big thing is taking the right success with your metrics. I like to say a lot of the time that, you as a dealer know your customers, you know your employees, you know the equipment you're selling, the manufacturers that you're working with, but it's important as well to know, what does your business system know about your customers, about your equipment, about your employees and what they're doing? What does the data say? And it takes going from that personal knowledge that you already have to what is the data? How does the data understand your business? And combining those two. A lot of you are in dealerships that have been around for decades, and maybe it's been within your family. And so there are great decisions that have been made by your understanding of customers and the business. Now you get the chance to say, what does your data know? What is the next level of understanding of your business that you can do? And that's tracking these success metrics. That's the things that we put into the business system, that the business system holds on to for years and is ready to provide you in your decision making. We want to help you use the right data and combine that with your own understanding. So what makes analytics useful? It's clear data. You're going to see in a minute here, we're going to present it in a few images, and we're hoping that that'll register with you guys. We want you to see what the core of analytics looks like so that you can make smart decisions. We want you to be able to make decisions that are specific, that are measurable, looking at things that are attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And as you look at the last point is really critical. Everyone in your organization needs to see the data to match their job function and their pay, bonus structure, whatever it looks like. We want to make sure that your organization is able to fluidly engage with and make decisions based on having analytical data. As we're going through and taking a look at these things, more and more dealers are already starting to use data and analytics, and it's being quite a bit of a game changer for them. They're matching their pay and their incentive plans to goals that are set based on data information they have, or some of them are just saying, hey, we want to make sure that we're pulling our entire team in the same direction. So whether it is that you're looking at, hey, how can we improve distribution? How are we better understanding savings that we can make? Or how are we motivating our employees and using data to measure that? At the end of the day, all of these play into profitability. We want to make sure that you have good data and good analytics so that you can leverage whatever's going on in your business, whether it's rentals, whether it's sales, whether it's service, whether it's how you're leading your team, the management decisions you're making, the purchasing decisions you're making. All of those things come down to, hey, how is that supporting us being profitable? How is that helping us say next year we're in a better position than we were in this year? Next year we can say we overcame this obstacle. And all of those are coming down to that core root of profitability. So we want to focus on the core. We want to focus on the right data. We want to help you have knowledge of what that information is. And as we all know, we can't know every single aspect of data that goes into our business system, but we want you to be able to function as if you have the knowledge because you have access to that right data. It's important that you are able to see what's the needed action that needs to be taken. And oftentimes prior to an action, there's a question that you may need to ask. What is this that I need to do? What do I need to analyze before we decide what the next step is? And all of that comes back then to boosting that profitability, boosting that efficiency, and being able to leverage the work that you're already doing to make it maximize what's available for your dealership. So we've got 10 ideas today that we believe you can use right away in your dealership to increase your efficiency and your profitability. We don't want to just talk about those last few slides, but we want to take a look at what are things that you can start doing right away in your dealership. The first of those is to automate your time clock and use automated labor time rounding capabilities. So this might seem like an unusual place to start in a presentation on analytics, but analytics starts with data. And there are some amazing dealers that are already using decade-old methods for recording technician time. But the simple change in data tracking creates a huge immediate benefit for your dealership. The highest benefit comes from a quarter-hour rounding, but any type of rounding will immediately improve that bottom line. But this puts you in the position to say, here's the work that's being done. We're going to make this rounding. And as you can see here, with a typical operation of 10 techs, this could be $3,000 a month for direct bottom line improvement. Here's an example of what you can already be looking at within your business system of how to make that change. So if you look here within the time clock configuration, it shows that you can go into the hours rounding. You can choose hundredths, you can choose tenths, quarters, whole. Whichever you're doing, though, you're doing that rounding up option so that you're able to have a technician time clock go in, rounding up, maximizing that profitability, and giving you the ability to start better incentivizing those technicians as well. As soon as they start to understand, hey, here's what that labor rounding looks like, and you can then go in and say, looking at this data, here's how you can increase your efficiency. Here's how you can maximize what you're doing within recovery time so that we know that you're in the jobs going, and that can lead to new or improved bonus incentives for your technicians, which further motivates their ability to go in and say, hey, I'm going to do my job as efficiently and as well as I can. Well, in the back office, you're getting that immediate benefit from the rounded hours. The second that we're going to look at is just tracking technician efficiency without manual spreadsheets. This is probably the single most important resource dealers need to manage, and that being their technicians. They need to be able to go in and say, hey, what are my technicians doing? How are we impacting that efficiency? Because as you know better than I do, it's not just about saying, hey, did we fix something today? But no, what did we fix? Did we do it efficiently in a way that is profitable? So improving their efficiency can amount to thousands of dollars of additional income every single month. This is also the core piece of analytics data that all dealerships are struggling to compile. Not only do you want to increase your efficiency, but in order to do that, you need to have a good understanding of what does my efficiency look like right now? What does it look like in general? What does it look like per technician? Or maybe you might be saying, hey, it seems like certain units or jobs are taking longer than they should. But without that analytical information, it's tough to address technician efficiency until you know where the problem is. And one area tends to offer kind of the single largest target of profitability gain for the dealer is right here with that technician efficiency. But we've got an example here using our DIS analytics program of how you can start looking at that technician efficiency. And this is an initial overview piece, but you can see already who are the technicians that are the most efficient. What does their recovery rate look like? What is the total number of billed hours? And you can break it down by branch. And all this kind of information already allows you just to see here at face value which technicians are doing what and how is that providing towards our profitability and our increased efficiency. Now, of course, there's a lot more details that you can go on beyond this, but even just starting here empowers you to see your team. And what that ends up doing now is allowing you to start asking of what else is there that I can look at that might be going a little bit off the rails or affecting our efficiency or recovery. And with that being said, we want to talk about controlling that work in process monster, right? Measuring and monitoring what is going on, whether it's warranty or whether it's something that the customer is paying for. Every dealership has to deal with the hidden profit drain that is work in process and is impacting that profitability and efficiency. And so it's important that you're monitoring and analyzing this area because that's going to lead to an increase in both billing hours and customer satisfaction. We want to help you avoid that posting delay. Okay, well, what do you need to look at? You've got to look at that up-to-date data. You want to minimize those lost labor lines. We want to take a look at what are the typical metrics that can start resulting in the billing increase for you guys. What that can look like, one example here, is already just being able to see your WIP stats on internal versus customer work versus what is within warranty, helping you then prioritize what are the things that we need to do, what are the jobs that we need to focus on, how is where we're setting ourselves up, whether it's getting parts ordered and onto the work order, or equipping the technician to go and do that job, how is that impacting your guys' bottom line in terms of looking at that profitability? Being able to prioritize the jobs that are going to best empower you to grow your business. And again, that's seeing information on your service work in progress and being able to see where are my priorities at. The next is to help each technician be as good as your best technician. And you might have noticed a few slides ago, right? We had it prioritized from the most efficient technician and going down from there. Having that kind of information, tracking performance down to every segment and every repair is going to allow you to elevate your entire team. And essentially in doing that, elevate your top technician as well. The more that you collectively can raise the efficiency of your team, that not only helps those who are lower on efficiency, lower in getting jobs done, but it also impacts your top technicians. And you want to be able to do this because there's always a unique skill set or specific areas where someone might succeed naturally. You've probably already got things that, you know, hey, this tech, he does the best when working on these jobs. And this technician, she does great when she's over in these kind of segments. But we want to help you see that if you can understand that data better on what does that look like across the board for your whole team, you can identify the ways that you can elevate and say, yes, there's a unique skill here for this technician, but there's also a unique opportunity to help other technicians reach that level of success and efficiency as your top technicians. An example of how you can see that in GIS analytics is with the technician scorecard. It gives techs the opportunity to look at how they're performing, whether it's their efficiency rate, understanding how many work orders they've been looking at, seeing their bonus amount, which leads to the motivation to do the best work they can, or being able to see the specifics of what models do I have higher efficiency on? What areas in the last week was I the most successful, or maybe the last month or the last year? Giving them the ability to see where they need to improve, rather than going to a technician and saying, hey, so-and-so in general is doing a more efficient work than you. You've got to meet their numbers. This gives you the chance to say, here is the job, the service type, the model being worked on, that is actually pulling your efficiency down. That is affecting your bonus. That is affecting your overall time. Here's where the change needs to happen. So rather than going to your technicians and say, hey, let's work harder and give a better effort across the board, you can say, no, I want to empower you with information so that you can do your job better. And we can therefore, whether it's compensation bonuses, whether it's opportunities, whatever it is, that provides both those opportunities for you and your technician. Moving out of service and into the parts department, the fifth way that we're talking about today that you can unlock data to improve how your dealership is running is optimizing your parts investment. Parts inventory tends to be one of the top 3 capital investments at every dealership. And most dealers are not attempting to maximize this investment through clear data-driven decisions. Yeah, I know that sometimes there might be a box overflowing or a pallet full of stuff somewhere where you're like, hey, we've got to move this stuff because it's in the way. But what we need to go beyond that is to start looking at what are our parts contribution. What does the data say? What is the actual inventory count? How long has this turn rate been in a poor position without us making a change? And so controlling your parts on hand, whether it's to match the customer's needs, matching what you're selling, or just identifying what do we need to be bringing up and incentivizing for the customers to jump into to move it along. But you can optimize your parts investment when you start understanding the data of what is sitting on your shelves. An example of what that looks like in DIS analytics is understanding your parts inventory, getting an accurate read on what does our stock look like? What are the things that have been moving? What are the things that haven't been moving? What's the turn rate look of this? Is this a seasonal slowdown? Can I expect this to be flying off the shelves in the next 3 months? Or is this something that has annually been getting further and further away from being a profitable portion of our parts business? You can look at contribution to understand and manage your part sales and your salespeople to say, what are the things that are contributing to our parts business and the profitability that we're looking to grow there. And of course, what's your parts usage by customer? Sometimes the best way to understand what should we be getting and ordering in for increasing our inventory, or what is the thing that we should be prepping up to reach out to customers about? Well, that starts with understanding what the customers have been doing. And as I mentioned before, you know your customers. You know them well. Oftentimes you know them personally. But this says combine that personal understanding of who you work with the data of the financial and the actual decisions they've been making with your business, and combining that allows you to better now manage your inventory and serve your customers well. And of course, this and every other analytics slide we've looked at has the ability to drill down. These are just the starting overview pages for this, but as you look at parts usage, you could say, I want to drill down to this one customer specifically, or I want to only see who's been purchasing this part or from this manufacturer, or I want to dig further into what does this specific part look like over the previous 2 years? What does the sales cycle look like? Our next piece, number 6, is understand your customers. Track every detail of the money that they spend with your dealership. So we started talking about this already previously with parts, but it doesn't end there. Your customers do a lot with you. They're purchasing parts. They're having their equipment service. They're purchasing new equipment with you. And it's important that you know what your customers are purchasing and where they provide you with that gross profit. It's critical, because then you're able to make decisions that can alter your selling strategies to better serve your customer and to better serve you. As someone who's had the chance to work with a lot of great customers over the years, I've seen that having a balance of how can I identify how I can serve my customer, but also make sure that I'm making the right decisions for my company is a key thing in being successful. And you know that same thing as well. You're not able to sell everything at a super discount or go for a loss. You've got to be profitable in order to continue serving your customer. But you also have to understand, what is the trend of my customer? What are the trends of this customer specifically, and how might it differ from so-and-so down the road? This also allows you to increase customer satisfaction. As much as we might live in the AI world, we are in relationships with our customers. We're seeing many of them face to face, and we have to have a good relationship there. And although that starts with oftentimes just being kind, being prompt, having a great conversation, we've got to back it up with providing what they need from us as a business. They're not coming in, they're not working with us just because they need a friend or someone to talk to. They're working with us because they have a business that they need to run. And so we can't assume that customer satisfaction only relies on our ability to smile and do well, but we have to back that up with providing what they need. And so when you're able to look at their purchase history, when you're able to look at the trends, and you're able to say, hey, I understand you as a customer, not just personally, but from the data, that's going to change everything. An example of what that looks like for us is being able to look at customer sales, seeing on-demand spending profiles for each of your customers. The ability to see kind of a global view of all your customers and digging down into even a spending scorecard. We want to make sure that you're thinking about what is the exact data of transactions. How is this, can this be detailed to understand the gross profit information? How can this help you evaluate and make decisions on your discount structures? And how does that differ from each customer, each product line, each month? There's so much that goes into pricing decisions and selling strategy, whether it is timeline, whether it is what you're selling, whether it is who you're selling to. Having that data to ask questions coupled with your experience of understanding your customers in the industry will help you best serve them and best serve your dealership to grow profitability and to get the equipment in the hands of your customers so they can do the same for their business. Our next is continuing with customers, and it's understanding their fleet, helping them understand how they're spending their money on repairs. What is it that they are investing in to keep their fleet running? And this is important for you because, and it depends on segments of operations within the equipment dealer market, but there's a high probability that you probably need to be monitoring all of the equipment under repair, under lease, under rental, with each of your largest customers. And you want to be guiding them with, here's the exact repair cost. Here's what the operational metrics looks like. And here's how we can help you make a more logical decision as we go in and discuss equipment replacement timing, or, hey, no, we can continue servicing this one and let's look at that for this type of plant. You're consulting with your customers to help them make the best decisions on their equipment. And when that equipment needs to be repaired, when that equipment needs to be replaced. And so as their equipment consultant, if you will, understanding the data of their fleet is key in serving them well and serving them with accurate information. Some examples again here for you is looking at what is the cost of this unit. Let's look at a fleet study and understand that. What are the top performing and the lower performing units that you have? Which are the ones that it might make sense for your customer to say, hey, we should replace this? You want to be able to make that decision and that recommendation based on data. You know this equipment well, but being able to say we also understand the metrics that are a result of the work that's currently being done on that piece of equipment, or even on other pieces of equipment similar, allows you to make the best recommendations, to be the ideal consultant for them. Average operating costs or cost per hour, total service costs, overall segment analysis. There's a lot of dollars invested into a fleet, and there's a lot of ways to understand that. Taking the time, making the change that's needed in order to reach in and understand that is a key point in serving your customers, creating great customer satisfaction, and retaining those customers for the long term. Our next piece is that trend analysis is critical. You've got to know what process changes are working and what ones still need to be modified. Your dealership continues to grow and to succeed for years, not because you've been doing everything exactly the same for decades, but because you've known what is it that we need to do the same, what is it that we need to change, and what is it that we need to be considering and understanding better. Sometimes the lack of change can lead to decline, but if you're looking into what process change might need to be made, you're going to be able to, as it is listed here, stop that decline faster, but oftentimes recognize it before it might even become a decline. And keep the gains coming. I'm constantly thinking about even how, in my own work, how am I constantly asking the question of what am I doing? How am I understanding my own customers? What can I do as a member here at DIS to change what I'm doing to serve my customer better? To do the thing that maybe someone was asking for before that seemed impossible, but that's possible now. And as manufacturers for you are coming up with new equipment, new attachments, new ways of tracking warranty, or saying, hey, we've put in this new technology that's going to serve the customer better, you've got to continue adapting as well to say, well, how can we understand what processes we need to make in order to serve our customer well? And your customer changes as well, their needs, their issues. And the more data that you have combined with your understanding of the industry that you're in, the better that you can not only predict or identify those changes that need to happen, but you'll better be able to know what to do to make that change. When a new challenge arises, you won't be in the position of saying, we never expected this and we had no idea what to do. Instead, you'll be in a spot of saying, we've been thinking about process change. We've already made modifications, and it looks like this is the next one. Let's identify the shift we need to make here. Having that growth mindset. Some examples of how DIS Analytics helps look at that. And again, like each of the slides with DIS Analytics, there's the ability to drill down and look at more specific pieces. But you can see here that identifying what is a trend of our efficiency by month. You might be looking at recovery over time. Maybe identifying specific branches. Seeing that maybe there's a modification that needs to be taken place here, whether it's how we're leading the team, whether it's who's leading the team, or how we're communicating with our customers. But when you start with data, you can begin to see where the outliers are, whether it's an outlier of success that you want to replicate elsewhere, or whether it's an outlier of things aren't looking like they should. This is not what is going to be successful long term. We need to make a change here. And sometimes It might not even be an outlier. It may be identifying that we're doing something really well everywhere. How do we make sure to maintain this? Or we're not succeeding here in general through across all our branches or all of our employees, and we need to make a larger change here. The next point that we're going to be emphasizing is the need to build a budget to get to your goals. A lot of dealers just compare last year's numbers as they begin to look at the budget. But in order to have true growth, it's going to depend on planning the budget with specific targets, thoughtfully created for every major category or general ledger account within the business. It's easy to know your business and to know what's been taking place for years with the big numbers. But in order to build a great budget, having those specific targets based on specific information that you see helps you know that what happened that tells the story for last year and how can we impact it this year. And what I mean by that is understanding when you look back at 2023, why did we end at that final number? Why do the big picture numbers, whether it's in a major category overview, whether it's your general ledger, why did those numbers lead up to that? What are the specific details that got us there? So that then when you're going and planning, you're not coming forward and saying, here's a big number, each person individually, let's figure out how to get there. But rather you can say, here's how we got to where we were last year. Here's what led us to here today. And now understanding that specific data, here is the measurable targets that we can do. As mentioned with the service technicians, we can't just go out and say, work harder, do better, and expect for numbers to significantly change. I'm sure we've all heard someone or even ourselves said that to somebody and later on realized that that person just thought, oh, hey, great. I've been given 100% and somehow they want me to do more. That's impossible. It's not impossible when you can help someone identify what that actual change looks like. Instead of just saying, make more effort, let's look at it and say, take the great effort you're already giving and invest it here. And so that's why a planned budget is so significant, because it's easier for your team to respond to and take action and for you to measure that action. Some examples of how we're able to see that and provide that through GIS analytics is being able to look at, again, these larger numbers, but with the ability to drill down to each one of these. This is the initial starting point, but as you say, I need more specific data to tell the story of how our numbers got here. You can go through and focus in on sales, focus in on service, parts, whatever it is. But you want to be able to connect your budget to reality, the reality of what happened, and the reality of what you need to do in order to match that again. Sometimes it's digging into your unit make and model as well. Understanding not only what brought in the money, but why. What area was it? And maybe it goes beyond even just saying, hey, okay, well, this was what the cost of profit was, but how much of that was through sales? How much of that was through service? And as you go into those details, well, what kind of service? What did the details look like? What time of year was it? Was it a specific make and model? Moving on to our last point, in order to unlock data to improve how you're running your business, is just to control your destiny and chart your growth. We want to remember that the ideas we presented today are not an all or nothing. You can't walk away today and sit down at your desk and say, great, we're going to do 10 new things tomorrow, but I'm trusting that there's probably something that stood out to you, something where you maybe took a note or you said, oh, wow, that I haven't thought about that, or I haven't thought about that in a while, or maybe someone even mentioned it to you. But whatever it is, you've got to pick one or two areas that speak to your unique dealership situation. What are the most pressing areas that need to change, that are screaming out, this is impacting our profitability, this is impacting our efficiency, this area is affecting our growth in a way that we don't want it to? I would say start there. Gradually embrace each area of change as you go. There's benefit in each one, I believe, for everyone, but take a look at what it is. And we want you to track the data that matters in that. See what those results look in real time, those typical metrics. Because as you've gone and picked one or two areas that you need to focus on, the next step then is understanding, as we're talking about, what does the data say? Our last little bit of example is what is just expenses and sales budgets. There's just two more examples of understanding what your results look like versus your budget target. Understanding that when we go and we make that large budget, we want to be able to say, well, what is it that needs to actually happen? What's the result that kind of brings us back to reality when we look at the number that we're hoping to attain? As we reach our last point, I want to provide contact information for the DIS team. You can reach us at sales@discorp.com, and we'll make sure that the representative who works within your area or is your account manager gets back to you. As a part of that team, I look in that email box every day. If you know your account manager's email, of course, you can reach back out to him as well. You can head to our website, or you can call our 800 number and hit extension 5. We would love to hear what questions you have today, and we're going to have a moment here to go through some of that as well. But please contact us via email, contact us via phone. We would love to talk to you more about whether it's one of these 10 ideas, whether it's how we're providing the opportunity to dig deeper into those analytics, or if it's another question that came up in this meeting. But as we reach the end of our time here, we'll jump into the Q&A and hear what questions you might have. Are there any immediate questions on the material that you have seen today?
Thank you, Brian. I think there's one question for you, and I will also read it here. So fleet metrics, can parts invoice be linked to a customer unit? It can on work orders, but there is no capacity currently to link a part invoice to a customer unit. Number 21 or an NH 100 skid steer store number, for example.
That's a great question. I don't know that question offhand directly. I know that you're able to access the parts information to see that, but you're essentially asking, I want to see the part that is directly connected to this work order that was purchased within that, it sounds like, correct? And obviously I can't hear you. That's a great question, and that's one that I've got some ideas of how it could be done, but I'm going to note that and we're going to get back to you. And I've got noted here who that question was from as well, so we'll be able to contact you directly here. Knowledge base. So there's actually instructions on how to go through and do all of the time clock edits. So if you go to the knowledge base where you're able to find different videos and trainings and things like that, you're able to go in and just type in labor rounding, and it will pull up an article on time clock, which has full instructions on how to do that right away. So if you're doing that within Quantum, you can go in and do that immediately and in other areas. And if you don't know about the knowledge base or you haven't been there, I put a note here in the chat that you would like information on the knowledge base. That's available to each of you as DIS customers, and we want to make sure that we can get that information in your hands. So please put a note here if you don't have access to the knowledge base.
Thank you, Brian, for the answer. And there's only one more question is, can my customers accept their fleet information on their own?
Yeah, so in DIS analytics, it's for you to be able to go in and view, understand your customers, your business, what's going on. There is actually an opportunity to combine DIS analytics with My Portal and give customers the ability to access that fleet information. So if you are in a position where maybe you don't want to send that information to customers, but they have a large enough fleet that you would like to provide the opportunity for them to go in, understand their fleet, what their costs are, that actually is possible combining My Portal with analytics. And I think that's actually a pretty positive thing, because this gives you the ability to have customers see you as a source of truth for their equipment information, helping you retain those customers better. So if you've got a customer who has a pretty significant fleet, you're selling them the units, you're servicing them, they now have access to all that information if you were to go that route. So there is a way to do that, and yeah.
Okay, thank you, Brian. I think that is the last question that we have. Um, Again, thank you for your insightful webinar, and I also want to thank everyone who joined today. If you have any other questions or are you interested in learning more about all the service offerings, please feel free to reach out to sales@discord.com. You will receive an email within the next 48 hours with the recording. So please make sure to keep an eye out for it. Once you leave this webinar, there will be a survey popped up on your screen. So please complete the survey, and we do take time to read the response and feedback. Thank you. Thank you again, everyone, and wish you a wonderful day.